In an era where most point-and-click games are mostly fan service delivered in retro fashion, Armikrog, from the people who made Neverhood and Earthworm Jim, hopes to bring some fresh air into the pixelized world of adventures with its claymation style. I'm Fgeitas, and here's my thoughts on Armikrog. Let's start with the basics. I know what you're thinking. Fgeitas, it's a point-and-click game. You point and you click. Yeah, I know, but some games do it better than others. Armikrog uses only left click to interact with the world, and that's it. While most games have some kind of inventory system where you need combined objects to solve some puzzles, Armikrog keeps it simple. You have the item, Tommyknot uses it. It's a pretty straightforward game. You have access to Tommyknot and his alien dog Big Beak, and you control them separately. Tommyknot can push things around, get to places and use his fingers to their full potential, while Big Beak, being blind, sees the world differently, interacts with things Tommyknot can't, and can access the smaller areas, which is essential to solving several puzzles. Since there's no inventory or log, some puzzles require you to memorize patterns and symbols, so I definitely recommend the use of a notebook so you can write everything down. No, seriously, do it. I admit I got stuck sometimes, but after I found the solution to the puzzle, it became apparent that the solution was in my brain. I was just not connecting the right dot. For its use of simplicity in its interface and at the same time delivering some good, interesting and challenging puzzles without going overboard on its difficulty, Armikrog does a good job. Just like its predecessor, the Neverhood, Armikrog is presented in Claymation. For those who don't know what Claymation is, just remember Wallace and Gromit or Shaun the Sheep and you'll understand what this is. All the scenarios are highly detailed and the character animations are all great. Sometimes there are instances of animations and scenarios overlapping, but it wasn't game breaking and happened so far in between that it's not worth making fuss about it. Both main characters are lovable and you do feel the bond between them. Tommyknot being the adventure guy, always willing to go the extra mile to do the right thing, while Big Beak is a kind of anti-consciousness and comic relief, letting out some really funny lines of dialogue when you least expect.
Tommy, don't touch that thing. You don't know where it's been.
The voice acting is not over the top, but it's more than enough to deliver the experience. Soundtrack is also great, with some jazzy tunes popping up in the background that match quite well the overall aspect of it. The story is fairly short for this kind of games, as you complete the game in 3 to 4 hours, but it's totally worth it. It reminded me a lot of Saturday morning cartoons with a straightforward plotline and a little twist in the end. But this is spoiler-free territory, we're not going in there. Animation, check. Great scenarios, check. Funny and lovable characters, check. Armikrog is nailing it. However, the game has its fair share of problems. First, there's the menu structure where load and save is located on options menu, where you can also toggle subtitles on and off, and that's it for options. It's not a big problem, but there are non-written rules that all menus should follow, and one of them is the organization. Load and save doesn't belong in the options, but in the main menu. Also, there are some problems with some puzzles. Whenever I loaded the save game, some of the puzzles I had solved before weren't done, so I had to solve them all over again. This didn't stop me from continuing, but I find these extremely awkward to say the least. But the main concern here is the sound. Soundtrack is good, dialogue is great, but in an era where games tend to be 50 to 60 gigabytes in size, a game like Armikrog that occupies mere 2 gigabytes had no need to compress the sound to an inferior bitrate. Also, sometimes voices had a strange echo effect when characters spoke outdoors, which seemed completely weird and out of place.
Big, look at that. What do you make of this guy?
Some sounds fail to load when triggered, and soundtrack sometimes just randomly pops up in the background. This was the part of the game that I felt was most overlooked. There's no need for lower audio quality these days, pencil tests, especially when you have that competent voice acting and such a good soundtrack. It's my main complaint about this game. Wrapping things up, Armikrog is a wonderful game. For fans of point-and-click adventures, this game will be super easy, but the great story makes up for all the rest. If you're a newcomer and been wanting to play a point-and-click game just to try it out, Armikrog is also a great game, and it doesn't go overboard with complicated puzzles and will keep you entertained for its entire length. For everything this game is, from the great animation and art direction, jazzy soundtrack, and funny yet touching storyline, I give Armikrog a smiley face. Go play it now!